Roberto A. Almodovar. Exactly 985 words. P.O. Box 1661. First North American Serial Rights, Klamath Falls, Oregon, 97601. Copyright 2010 Roberto A. Almodovar, ralmodovar@gmail.com. Bob creates life. A.S.A.L.I project short. Bob and Ray watched with curious fascination, wondering what the latest batch of life would do next. "Holy shit, man, you've got to see this," blurted Bob, followed by Ray laughing out loud as they watched the tiny detonation and flash come from inside the device. "They've done this quite a few times so far." "You've got to be kidding me, is that the same system?" "Yes, the exact same quadrant, same damned planet. I'll be damned if life didn't bounce back in a new evolved form." "I don't know how you do it, season after season, you are always in the top 3, but Larry sure came up with an amazing life form last season, he deserved first place for that thing he created." "Larry created an abomination that the bioweapons group decided to fund and take over, it's non-sentient life form and highly dangerous," said Bob with a frown. "Competition brings out the worst and best of us. I do it because the S.A.L.I project competitions pay generously, they also help science. You have to admit every time you've stopped by, we've seen something new grow and get big enough for us to see," smiled Bob, pointing to the hyperframe. The small mushroom cloud was easily visible as they watched from the comfort of Bob's studio, in the center of which floated the latest deluxe Hyperframe 2 accelerator/decelerator powered by jump drive technology. "You should order one," said Bob. "This new model doesn't require certification, completely self-contained, safe and guaranteed to make stars, form galaxies, and grow life right out of the box." "Yes, but you never know what you'll end up with. Most people just end up with slime." "But that's only part of the fun," blurted Bob. "Sure, anyone can grow slime. It's what you put into the mix before you start that's the real secret." "Life is fun to watch when you find some," said Ray, "but there isn't much to be learned from watching slime." "That depends," smiled Bob as the mushroom cloud finally faded. "I think I can win first place with these guys." Bob zoomed the hyperframe out to its maximum. Floating across its 11-dimensional holographic surface were 2 flexing rectangular planes filled with beautiful arrays of star and galactic clusters flying away from the centers of both. It was the machine itself that had banged the 2 planes into each other at dark energy speeds, creating an explosion and mosaic of cosmic stuff needed to create life in the flash of an instant. The machine captured that flash in deceleration to allow for detection, visualization, and study before the deceleration period was complete, and the flash gone forever. As long as the bang was active, life might be observed. Ray watched his friend as he zoomed back in, tied to the system, then to the planet again. Current jump drive technology only allowed for observation of the forming particles and elements within the hyperframe. One could influence the beginning of the formation, but there was no proven safe method of controlling any particle interaction during the forming and deceleration periods. "How can you learn anything from watching these little fuckers completely overrun that amazing planet? Look what they've done to it, and now they're about to blow themselves up." "Well, we have you to thank for part of that. If you hadn't thrown a rock at them last season, these little fuckers wouldn't be here." Bob smiled. "That was pretty cool though, right?" blurted Ray as they both started laughing. "As I remember, you weren't too happy about the last batch anyway." "Hey, they won me first prize 2 seasons ago," said Bob, pointing to the trophies adorning his studio. "The only problem was they were just a little too perfect. I hadn't been able to capture first place in the last 2 seasons with them. Sure, they got huge, ferocious, and successful. But second and third place for large lizards just doesn't cut it." Ray stared at the myriad of awards and trophies his friend had collected. He was one of many having access to hyperframe devices, but only one of a handful that had successfully created advanced forms of life and made a living doing it. "These little guys here, however, are definitely interesting," continued Bob. "They are sentient, highly developed." Self-aware of their universe, they change their environment using tools, and more importantly they have language and culture. Bob looked over at his friend. I know I can win this year, so no more rocks from you, okay? I'm very happy with these guys. He pointed one of his tentacles at him. After 65 million years this project is starting to bloom. You mean boom, said Ray, laughing as the tiny cloud dispersed across the atmosphere of the planet in an angry red flame. He looked deep into the hyperframe. At the rate they are going, he continued, even if they survive themselves, they would only have left the confines of the solar system, and maybe just reached the edge of their galaxy. But could never reach the edge of either universe plane before deceleration was complete and the Flash was long dead and cold. That's the challenge, Ray. I'm working on a way to help them get here faster. How much time before deceleration is completed? Looks like this is the last season and I'll have no choice but to set the hyperframe to rebang. Even if you came up with a way to get them here sooner, what will you do with them if they reach the physical edge of the hyperframe? I hope to introduce them to the judging panel. Bob smiled, and win.